Welcome back to Momentous Struggle, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast. On this week's episode, I have a special guest, Nick Rader, also known as Nesquick on the Discords. He's going to be joining me talking about Adepticon and like a really cool list that he ran. So go ahead and jump on into it. And I have Nick here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Cool.
Thanks for having me on.
No, I'm excited to have you on here, man. I've had a chance to play you multiple times, like since the game's launched. So it was like, you're just an amazing player. I mean, you finished sixth at Worlds, and so it's like I'm not surprised by that at all. By the games we've got to play. I mean, and our community in general is just really awesome. Like with the caliber of players that we have, so it's really good to see that you came out and had such a good performance over at Adepticon.
No, yeah, no, I definitely second that. I'd say that the community in Arizona, we have like a lot of really strong players. Like, for example, big shout out to the Pierce, Christopher, Samson, and Grand Moff Matt Booker. I was able to get some in-person games with them before Adepticon, so getting to face some really good talent, test out different lists and ideas was great. And obviously my brother as well, who you know very well. I got to practice with him quite a bit, so huge shout out to my brother Jake and all those guys practicing.
Yeah, it's awesome that we have that here. I mean, like I'm sure other communities have it as well, but it's like we have like two top 10 finishers in the back-to-back worlds basically that from our community, so it definitely helps out. So, but I did kind of want to jump in, like talk a little bit about like you, like what is your background in gaming? Like how did you get from like the kid with the greatest dice luck that you're according to your brother anyway to like playing Shatterpoint?
Yeah, no, great question. So, our just like what we do at like family functions and like over the holidays, like our family, we've always really been big with like board games, playing like a lot of Catan and different games like that. But I'd say kind of like first starting out with like tabletop, I guess, would be HeroClix. We actually collected all of the HeroClix like growing up, so that's what Jake remembers is we used to play HeroClix over and over again with a lot of dice in that game. So got started with HeroClix, and then so that was like obviously when I was like a kid through like teenager, and then actually got back kind of into it post college. So I'm originally from like Washington State, and when I moved down here. Jake was still in Washington, but when he moved to Arizona a couple years back, he brought over like a bunch of board games and tabletop games, and we got to try some of those out. So we started out with God Tier. Are you familiar with God Tier at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we played like a little bit of God Tier, and I was like, oh, okay, this is like super fun. And so then he showed me MCP. So we got into Marvel Crisis Protocol, and played the doors off of that for about 6 months, and then we heard that this new game Shatterpoint was coming out. So I had a lot of experience playing MCP, and so I was like, oh, I want to get started in this brand new game. I'd never like been at the beginning portion of like a game first coming out. So I love Star Wars, love Marvel and all those games. So I definitely wanted to get right into that one.
No, makes sense. Makes total sense. I mean, that's like one of the things I know. As soon as the game launched, I was kind of in the same boat where I'm like, man, this Star Wars, and I was a big MCP guy as well. So the two coming together was just like, this is perfect. So I definitely feel you on that part. So
Yeah.
you said like you started with MCP, you were drawn to it. Like when it comes to playing Shatterpoint, I know there's some people that like they're going to stick with their factions and they want to play their favorite factions, or they're going to sit there and play whatever like calls to them. I mean, do you have a certain play style that calls to you that or something along those lines?
Yeah. So for Shatterpoint specifically, I'd say like the way I view my play style is more of like a control style. So I really enjoy moving units. Using like tie-breaking units to move them across the other side of the map and take points and hold objectives rather than going for like the attrition. I think it's definitely a fine strategy to go in there and just blow certain units off of the table and take those points. But I see a lot of value in like you're moving your character to the right side of the map, but then you can also use an ability to move a separate character to the left side of the map. So I've always just enjoyed that type of play style. So I've definitely had a lot of fun with Rebels, and mainly Princess Leia, charming to the last. That's my go-to character, and she offers a lot of movement. So.
Yeah, and she's, I mean, I think she's kind of a go-to for a lot of people. So yeah, and we'll definitely dive into your list like when we get to a little down the road, because I definitely want to talk about like some of the choices that you made and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, so going to Adepticon, let's say like go to like start at the beginning there. Was this your first like major convention, or how do you go to a lot of conventions, or what was it this for you?
No, this is like my very first one, brand new. I participated in the Arizona GT for Shatterpoint. That was kind of like my first real taste and experience of like a larger tabletop, event. Besides some of like our local ones that we've had here. So yeah, Adepticon was brand new type of experience for me. I wasn't entirely sure like what to expect. I'd heard from a lot of people like how big it was, and there's like a bunch of different games, and so I was kind of mainly excited to like experience all of that, see like what exactly it was like. And so yeah, it was brand new experience for me. I'd never been to definitely a tournament that big as well as a convention.
So, what were your thoughts like? I mean, going in, like, I mean, because everyone talks about, man, it's just so big. It's almost too difficult to describe to someone who's never been there. I mean, what were your like initial thoughts when you're just like see how big it was?
Yeah, great question. So I got there I got there on Wednesday, and I basically just like dropped off all my bags, and then texted Jake, and he said that you guys were still setting up like the streaming area. So I was like, okay, I'll just like walk over there and see what the layout is like. And when I first got to the what's it called, the Baird Center, right? It
Baird
was like
Center,
the Baird
yeah.
Center. I was like, holy cow, this place is huge. It's like right next to the Milwaukee Bucks stadium, so it's like a huge like downtown strip. And you first get into like the hall, and there's just like a whole bunch of people like setting up like different like maps. The way or where my hotel was at was like towards like the right end of the Baird Center, and so I like walked through and I saw like the open gaming area, and there was like already people like playing games and stuff, and then I kind of peeked into like there's like a ballroom, and they're like setting up like hundreds of tables in there. So I was like, as soon as I walked in, I'm like, oh, okay, like I can definitely see this is huge. And then I think I realized that was like one of two buildings, so there was like two buildings, 3 floors, like all 3 of the floors were like massive, so you can definitely get lost in that place. So as I was like going up like the escalator and like walking down the hallway and stuff, I'm like, okay, like now I kind of understand what people are saying. Like there's so many different games and so many different people, so it was really cool to experience that. And then I saw like the great room where Shatterpoint was being played, and they were setting up MCP tables and Legion, and got to see like some of the maps, and I saw you guys setting up, so I was like, okay, like now I kind of understand where we're going to be playing. I got to see like some of the Shatterpoint tables. They were like all set up, like really good paint jobs. So I was definitely excited at that point. I'm like, okay, we get to hang out here for like 4 days and play a bunch of Shatterpoint. This is gonna be awesome. So.
Yeah, it's a great experience. I mean, I think I say it every time. If you like, you at least have to go once. Like, but if you go once, you're probably going to be hooked and want to go every year. So it's just one of those like you're always. It's just too amazing to not experience 100%. So yeah, I love it. So you get there Wednesday, and you were in Heat 2. So what was like kind of your plan going into the weekend?
Great question. So kind of touching back. Again, that this was my first Adepticon. I didn't really I didn't know what to expect, so I was like, I'm just gonna take Thursday off just to hang out, and like I want to go see like the vendor area, and definitely want to get my hands on the Ahsoka Vader pack, and just kind of hang out and see what it's like. So yeah, so I got in on Wednesday, and then that Thursday morning, first thing I did was head over to the AMG store and got the Vader Ahsoka, and then just walked around, looked at all the different shops, and then came back over and was looking, just to see what was going on with the Heat 1. And then once I kind of like got, comfortable with doing all that, then I set up some league games. I participated in the league event, so I got to meet like some really cool people and play like some league games. So that was a lot of fun. So that's pretty much what I did on like the first day, is like just kind of hung out, explored, got my lay of the land, and then got some league games in for practice.
How do you like the league? I mean, I find it kind of interesting that it's like one of those where you kind of get a punch card and just like play at your own pace type of a thing. What was your thoughts on that?
I actually liked it. So it kind of reminded me of the new key operations that they're rolling out. It was very similar to that. So it had like a very thematic play style, but it was cool. You walked up to the prize wall, and they basically gave you two choices on each of the days. You could choose like one card on the right, one card on the left. So I grabbed my ability, and I chose this one where it's like you get to attach a special counter to a primary, and then they just get one additional force for like the rest of the league. But there's a downside. So like as you're progressing through the league, your primary is getting stronger. But on the first, I think for my specific ability, the first day was at the beginning of every order shuffle or order deck shuffle, you had to roll a dice, and if you rolled like a failure or like a crit or success, something like that, you would gain a condition. So yeah, it was fun. It was thematic, but it was also just like a great way to get games in. So I'd actually brought, besides the team that I did take to Worlds, I brought some Mandalorian teams, so I decided to play Mandalorians for the league. So I gave the armor an extra force for the league ability. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, this definitely like helps her even more. But it's like give her more force, and it doesn't count for extra force towards the like when everybody gets hurt and stuff like that. So no,
Yeah.
very cool, very cool. So I like that it's like a narrative play without having to be completely committed to playing a narrative play. That's really neat that they have that ability. So that was Thursday, and
Mm-hmm.
then you roll into Friday, and that's day or Heat 2. So your first day at Worlds.
Yeah.
And this is where we kind of get into your list. So, like, before we jump into maybe like some of your experiences for that, let's talk about your list. So, you have
Okay.
a super interesting list. When you look at it, you go, okay, you're playing Moff Gideon, and there's no other Empire in there. It's just Lord Maul, then with Kanan and a PLC. So, outside looking in, people are probably going to go, oh, it's a 2x2 where you're playing Kanan with PLC and Moff with Lord Maul. Is that what you were going for, or what is like the heart and soul of this list? I guess is probably a good way to put it.
Yeah, so great question. So it's kind of like a super flex list. I actually wanted, so I kind of like, I guess that kind of fits into my playstyle as well with like control. I like to kind of confuse my opponents. So like seeing this, yes, you would normally think like, okay, this is definitely a 2x2. But I had actually been practicing a lot of different combos with all of the teams inside there. So I mean, so kind of the bread and butter of the list, in my opinion, is the Princess Leia, Agent Callus, and Rebel Commandos team. I had been practicing that with the Moff Gideon portion, as well as Maul and Kanan, for different matchups that I thought maybe I would face. I brought Kanan and Ezra and Chopper to pair directly with Princess Leia. In case I faced like any sort of like super aggressive list, or mainly Iden, I thought that I was gonna face a lot of Iden throughout the event. So I just wanted to have like a double revenge type list that worked really well together. It's definitely a proven list and has a lot of upside to it. But another thing that I thought I would definitely run into was the newer model that was released, Kiadi Mundi. I had a couple of experiences facing him, when practicing and getting prepared for Adepticon, where like him paired with Plo Koon and the full like force push list just kicked my butt. It was like really tough to deal with. They have a ton of movement and they're just force pushing everybody off there. So I wanted to bring the Dark Troopers to have them as a flexible option for like those type of control lists that are just going to be throwing you off points. So bringing Moff Gideon, Death Trooper Escort, and Dark Troopers to pair alongside Princess Leia, Kallus, and Commandos. At first it looks like okay, you have those three empires. Well, Kallus has the ability where he can change his tag at the beginning of the game. So when I would pair them together, I would actually make Kallus Empire. So that way I could get Coordinate Fire Strain from the Dark Troopers and try and place that on any Jedi that were trying to deflect me, that sort of thing. So that was kind of the idea there. And then also I wanted to bring. So I felt like Moff Gideon, Princess Leia, Kanan, they're all kind of like control. Like PLC and Kanan, they have like those revenge triggers where you don't want to do damage to me. And then Moff Gideon has like the tiebreaker and super tanky units and Dark Troopers. I wanted Lord Maul, Crosshair, and Fifth Brother to bring that more heavy damage element. And then Fifth Brother is just kind of there as like a tiebreaker. I can use PLC's ability to dash him to like different points across the map. And then I really wanted Crosshair, like if I would face like Mandalorians, using him to just take them right off the map by shooting them from a distance. So it was kind of like a combination where I felt like for different matchups, I could use different versions. So
this is more of like a PLC anchor list then, who did you pair Lord Maul with the most? Does he pair with Leia, or who is it that you're kind of running him with?
Yeah, so great question. I'd run some test games with Lord Maul and Leia, and I felt pretty comfortable with that. When we get into like some of the games that I experienced, my very first game, I ended up pairing Lord Maul and Moff Gideon together because I also really enjoy that combination as well because Moff Gideon can offer Long Live the Empire on both Fifth Brother and Dark Troopers to start moving my tanky supports around the map. And then Lord Maul just, force pulling people away from objective points and just, having that extra layer of diceless displacement. So I paired them together the one time, and then I played Princess Leia and Moff Gideon 3 times, and then I played Princess Leia and Kanan 3 times. But okay. I was comfortable running Princess Leia as an anchor if I needed to.
Makes sense. Yeah, so let's go ahead and let's jump into your games. I mean, like, so you had 4 rounds on day 1, or heat 2, I guess, for like a way of putting it. You don't have to jump in and give like full details of each and every game if you don't like. I think that's a lot to like recall, especially we're like about a month after the event. But were there certain things that kind of jumped out at you as like that were like important events throughout the game that you just, or throughout the week, that this was like, oh, I remember this great moment or something like that?
Yeah. So, I guess if we just kind of go in order, I think one of the most interesting things that happened was in my first game. So, like you said, so it's Friday. It's Heat 2 of Worlds. Like everyone's, they're doing the player meeting before, and like there's a bunch of people. So I would assume that everyone is, everyone's like in the zone. They're trying to get ready for their game. I was definitely like a little bit nervous. I'm like, all right, let's get this event started. And so the very first game that I was playing against my opponent, I believe I lost the priority roll, and so we were kind of deciding like map side and that sort of thing. But I saw that he had brought like Obi-Wan and Hunter, and then Kanan Hera. So I was like, okay, it's my first game. I'm just gonna go ahead and do Moff Gideon and Maul just to get it out of the way, just in case if I face Iden the next couple of times, I definitely want to be using my Kanan and PLC pairing. So I played that game. and it was a really tough fought game, and I ended up losing my very first game. But it was kind of interesting because it almost felt like a weight was lifted. I was like, okay, I lost my first game. I'm probably not going to progress now, like to the day 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and have fun with it, play some combinations that sound a lot of fun. So I think that was like kind of like an interesting thing to happen in game 1. I'm like, okay, I already lost the first one. So and also in my entire day 1, I played on Never Tell every single game. So that was like another thing is a lot of the maps at Adepticon, they use like a lot of terrain, a lot of like unique and interesting like map layouts. So it definitely paired well with Never Tell because like the super spread out points. So that was just kind of another interesting thing as well. But in my second game, I had kind of prepared for this one. I saw that I was facing somebody that had Kiadi Mundi and Vader 1. And so that's where I was like, okay, I think my opponent is going to just try and, lightsaber
murder you off
me.
the board. Yeah.
Exactly. So a funny moment in this game was this one I won the priority, so I chose Never Tell. I decided to take Never Tell because there was a big gantry across the middle, but there weren't like any ladders like going up to the middle. So it was like one big bridge across like the middle of the map. And so I remember this part. The very first card that I pulled was the Shatterpoint, and I was like, okay, I think this is the moment where I'm gonna activate Chopper first, just to get him up on the middle point, so that he can remain, invisible and can't be shot like in the middle. So I used some force to jump up there, get up into the middle, and I was like, okay, this is great. Well, my opponent, I believe he first drew Shock T, and so I was like, oh no, everything that I just did is probably going to get undone because she's not going to be shooting Chopper. So yeah, he was able to, like jump up there, and his very first activation, he knocked Chopper off the point, and I was like, okay,
Like
that
not a
didn't go
good start.
yeah, especially because I was like, yeah, you go with Shatterpoint first with Kanan and Leia. Usually you want to go with like Princess Leia so you can start moving everybody up the board. And then that one time I decided to activate Chopper, he just got lightsabered. But it was kind of interesting because after that point, I think I can't remember exactly. I think I might have pulled Princess Leia next, but what I was able to do was start moving my team slowly up the map, and so this actually happened to me in 2 different games. But I got up on top of the point. I wasn't able to shove Shock T off, but I was able to eventually move Ezra up below the contesting point. So even though we both had one person at elevation, when you have a tie-breaking unit below elevation, they use their ability to still break the tie. So I was kind of able to, hunker myself down up there at the top, but then also have a tie-breaking unit at the bottom. In that game especially, it really helped me because it was Kiadi and Vader, so it was most of the squad was lightsabers and melee focus. So getting control of that X shape on Never Tell in the beginning was really important. And then I guess moving on to my next game, I faced the Jakester, who definitely know because he was the one who won our Arizona GT. He's a really great player. And this game was really interesting as well because I had a feeling that he would probably run his Obi-Wan list because I know that's what he
like
ran.
His favorite list. That's what he always plays.
He's really good at it, so it makes sense. Yeah, I had a feeling that he would run that, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna run PLC Kanan. They offer a ton of movement, and especially on these maps. Oh, and I guess one other side note. I definitely wanted to have Leia as like an anchor or in a majority of my games because of Infiltrate. I just wanted to have at the beginning of the game, getting to line people up range 3 gives you a lot of flexibility when you're deploying on any of the missions, and especially it came in handy with a lot of those maps. There were so many buildings and a lot of different unique terrain setups that it definitely helped out. So, yeah, with this game, it was really really close at the end. I'd won struggle 1, and then he had done a good job in struggle 2 to pull it back. I was really close to taking struggle 2, but then mission critical got called, and he took struggle 2 with like mission critical, and then we both were like, okay, we got to lock in here. And it basically came down to one side point. Hunter tried to move up and displace Chopper off of a side point, and he couldn't do it. So I was able to lock in that win. So that was pretty memorable as well, because I was like, okay, in my game 2, Chopper, he moved up and got kicked off the point, but then in game 3 he held his ground, so he was good in my eyes there.
Nice. All right, so before we jump into game 4, I mean, so
Yeah.
you started out, you lost your first match, you're just like, okay, got that out of the way. You said that you didn't feel like you were going to end up making it to making it to the cut after that. Now you've just rattled off 2 straight wins. You're 2-1, and basically if you go 3-1, you're in. Is the way that the cuts worked. So I mean, you're getting ready to go in. You're like, where's your mindset at this point in time then?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was still kind of like in the mindset where I was just like kind of excited that I was getting to play like some more games. So I was like, all right, I actually do have a chance here, because I was able to pull out 2 tough wins there. So yeah, heading over to the last one, I was like, okay, if I win, then I do make day 2, which which is awesome. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna think about this like a little bit more. And I saw my opponent, Evan, who was really really cool guy. Got to talk to him after the game as well. But I saw that he had brought like a Hondo list, I believe, as well as Kanan. So a Kanan Mando. So I was like, I wasn't really sure what exactly he was going to run. So that's where I was like, okay, I think this is where I pull out my wild card that I've been kind of hanging on to, and just lock in Princess Leia and Moff Gideon to try and change it up a little bit. I'd had a lot of experience running that combo, in test games and just at like local tournaments and that sort of thing. So wanted to throw that in there, especially. I had a feeling that he would probably go with Mandalorian and Kanan. So again, having those Dark Troopers that can't be Clan of Tood or Force pushed away, that's kind of what I was thinking. So I did a little bit more of the pregame list construction in my mind than the last couple. So that's kind of where my mindset was.
So you're like, okay, I'm focusing in now. I'm gonna try and make the cut. And how did that game? So like, I mean, we know that you make the cut, but I mean, how did that game end up going for you?
So it didn't look very good at the beginning. We got the X shape on Never Tell, and that's always a super fun one because it's back and forth. But there was at one point in Struggle 1, I ended up losing Struggle 1, but on the X shape, he controlled all 5 of the points. So he had maneuvered his way into my back line, and took those points. So I was like, it was definitely not looking good after the first round. But what I decided to do, rather than go after those, I was like, okay, well, I know I get to choose the next mission. I'm just gonna spread out the web of my team and try and get different points that he's not on. While keeping Moff Gideon in like my back area to tie break, just in case. So that actually that actually benefited me a lot, because when the map flipped, then I started controlling more of the points, and so we had a really tough back and forth for that one. But I was able to take struggle 2. And then the third one, I'm trying to remember the exact layout. I don't remember the exact layout, but I know that that one of the middle ones on his side was active, I believe. But it was really important because at one point I had moved a Dark Trooper there earlier in the game. So then when it flipped, like in the final struggle, he was kind of forced in a position where he had to choose a map layout where I still had like some guys on there. And one of the most memorable things that came from that game is it really did come down to about 1 or 2 different roles. There was one where he activated with the Rebel Commandos and basically had to put everything that he needed, or every dice that he could get into a Dark Trooper, and I believe he rolled like 5 or 6 fails, and then it just negated all of the damage from like protection and immunity to pin. So not swinging that point was able to allow me to move on to the last one and then secure it for the win.
Nice. So basically, I mean, it sounds like that was a real nail biter simply because like you didn't have to, you had to come back from down 0-1. Did you?
Yeah.
Do you feel like like being able to make that decision middle of the game to okay, I'm losing this. I need to sit there and make that. Do you think that's something that like people need to work on more, because is like resigning themselves to okay, this is a lost cause, how can I sit there and make the best of this going forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say like it definitely took me a lot of like games and just experience, maybe even like a year and a half into the game, to start realizing that if like struggle 1 isn't necessarily like, if it doesn't look like you can squeak it out, then maybe it is a good idea to start moving to different sides of the map, because again, you know, with the whole game of it being a tug of war on the struggle tracker, you can really pull your way back by just focusing on what's to come, even when you're in a bad spot like that. So he had all 5 points on the X, and I was like, well, I get to choose the mission, and there's all of these other points that are unattended. I'm just gonna go over to there and then see what I can do with that new map layout. So I definitely think it's definitely good to practice that, and maybe you know, in your games that you're playing locally, give it a shot, because my main play partner is my brother. So if I'm ever down in a game with my brother, there's no way I'm giving up. I'm definitely gonna I'm definitely gonna claw my way and try and win every single one of those games. So I guess that's where I've gotten practice. You know, maybe giving up on struggle 1 and then progressing to struggle 2 to try and take it in struggle 3.
The sibling rivalry is the key. Got it. I can
Yeah.
see that. I can see that with you two. You two are pretty competitive when it comes to the gaming. So I'm sure the games get pretty intense with you two.
Oh, it's intense and it's competitive, but it's all in good fun. You know,
Right.
we've been doing this ever since we were a kid. We're always like trying to think of like you know, like a new tactic or a new list to try and outsmart each other. So I guess it really brings good competition when we do that all the time. So
That's awesome though. That's awesome. So you finished the day 3-1. You're into the top cut. Like, how are you feeling at this point in time? You're like, you know, did you exceed your expectations, especially when you started out 0-1? Or, I mean, was this like, did you really think that, like, did you come in like, oh no, I can do this. I can sit there and make it to the, you know, to the top 8 or the top whatever at Worlds. I mean, where was your mindset?
yeah, so you know, I had went into the weekend. My goal was to try and make day 2. I just thought that would be really cool. But again, I was just happy to be there. Excited to compete at my first Adepticon. But yeah, definitely once it happened, like I was like really excited. I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I was able to claw that back from starting 0-1. And then immediately after that was the AMG panel reveal. So I got to hang out and know that I was getting to come back the next morning to play more. and then see the the reveals and all, and just hang out, and I was pretty much on cloud nine. It was a lot of fun. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so you go to the reveal. You kind of like what was kind of like your mentality? Not mentality, but what was like your prep going into day two? So I mean, like, were you like, okay, I'm just gonna go back to the hotel room, relax, or did you want like, I'm gonna go out and drink and celebrate and just get completely blitzed? I mean, where were you at with it?
well, so actually at that point, um, so one of the things that you also need to be aware of for these huge events is you play like a bunch of games. So I was like absolutely wiped after that day. Like I played 4 super intense games of Shatterpoint. The last one was like super technical, a lot of like very precise movements. So after I got to hang out and just kind of relax and watch the reveal. But then after that, I went like straight over to that 3rd Street marketplace and just got like a whole bunch of food because I was so hungry after using all of that energy to play Shatterpoint. So that was kind of my mindset. I was like, I'm gonna go get some food, and then I grabbed like a bite there, and then I went back to my hotel room after that because I was like, I'm gonna go get some sleep for tomorrow.
Nice.
It's definitely a lot. Like it's like it's a lot.
It's intense. It's intense. I mean, and then
Yeah.
you know that like, okay, I still like have 3 rounds to play to get to top 8 tomorrow. So it's like you still you played 4. You have best case scenario 3 games to play the next day.
Yeah.
Did you take a look at like the brackets and like what your potential path was through all of the matches?
You know, I'm also a huge NFL fan. So the bracket type like the seeding and stuff, it reminded me of like the like AFC and NFC playoffs. So I was looking at like the bracket, and I kind of like saw like the path to like get to like the finals, but I wasn't really paying attention to who I could face later on. I was more of just focused like who I was playing at that time. So um, so I saw who my opponent was for the next morning, and I was like focusing on like what their list might be,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of just focusing on that rather than just looking ahead.
Makes sense. So I mean, looking at like the bracket going ahead, the first thing I'm looking at is going, "Oh my gosh, you're playing Iceman Dean." So I mean, I'm assuming you're familiar with who he is. Like he's pretty.
Yeah,
Like, so what
yeah.
were your thought when you saw that?
So I'm fairly certain that like when I looked at like Heat 2, like leading up to Adepticon, he was like the number 1 player like on there. Like he's really good at Shatterpoint. So I was like, okay, sweet. So actually that brings up another point. So obviously all of the 4-0s and then all of the 3-1s, and I think there was 1, 2, and 2 that made it on my side on Heat 2. So
Mm-hmm.
due to tiebreakers, I was like I think I was ranked like number 12 like in that bracket.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, either way, no matter who I'm facing, I'm definitely facing somebody really good. So yeah, I saw Dean. I believe he's won Shatterpoint GT as well.
I'm almost
Maybe
positive.
some of
Yeah.
so, like some of the online leagues. So I definitely knew that I had my work cut out for me.
And
So.
last Adepticon, he finished second. He's the one that Matt Booker beat in the finals. So it's like,
That's right.
so
Okay.
it's like,
Yeah.
he's
So like definitely some stiff competition. So I remember I remember walking up to the table and telling him, I'm like, hey man, I'm just happy I made day 2. I probably won't progress here. So I knew that I was facing some. I mean, everybody at Worlds was really really good at the game. So I was at this point I was like, okay, this is just game number 5 of facing another really good player. I'm just gonna just go out, try my best, and see where it takes me.
Yep. So jumping into the games, I mean, so at this point in time, you're like, this is the first time you get to not play on Never Tell Me the Odds for the World Championships. How did excuse me? How did that game go? I mean, how did it feel?
Yeah. So this is another one. So I, um, so this is a this is another one. So I, um, so this is a this is another one. So I, um, so this is another one. 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 So this is another I had a feeling that I was going to be facing Kanan and Mando, and this is one that I kind of had prepared a lot for. So this is why I decided to go with PLC and Moff Gideon again, because the goal of that pairing is I don't want to wound. I just want to use movement and tiebreakers and really tanky pieces to, just sit on the objectives. Um, and so, yeah, Sabotage Showdown was chosen. I didn't win priority, so he took his mission, and then got to pick his side and everything like that. So I was just from the first activation, it really is the death donut. So there was a lot of back and forth early on. I believe he came in and wounded my rebel commandos like when they were still in the starting deployment area, and I was able to I was able to retain that point with like some revenge triggers, and it kind of just progressed the game on from there. But I was able to get my dark troopers in like a really good spot, so that I was able to get 4 of the points in struggle 1, and then I was also threatening one of his back points from my point of view on the left side, moving up like into his back point. But he had this really really good roll where I was attacking Chopper to push him back and get him off his back point and then advance onto his point. But he rolled 4 expertise with Chopper, which I kind of always forget has a reposition on there. So I tried shoving Chopper off the point, and then he just repositioned back onto that point. And I was like, okay, crap. So then I used my like jump boots to jump back onto the points that I already had. So I was kind of like pushing back into his points, but then also like coming back to the ones that I had already taken because I didn't want to get like backdoored.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I believe I was able to take Struggle 1 in that one. And then he played so good on Struggle 2, and he was able to kind of come back and get in like a really good position. And actually, if you look at the game ended. I only had 2 wounds, and he had 6. So like he was doing what he needed to do, taking my units out of the game. But it came down to like the final struggle. I had moved my Dark Troopers and Death Trooper escort to like kind of like, I believe it was the middle point, and I backstopped them against one of the terrain pieces in there. And then when we flipped the third struggle, it was the straight line down the middle for Sabotage. So like I already had like two bodies or 2 points covered with bodies. So then from that point, we were kind of fighting over the middle point. And, it definitely came down to this one roll with the Dark Troopers, and I had them on the middle point, and they had 7 out of 8 damage. And so he focused with Sabine, so he got like 9 dice, and rolled into the Dark Troopers, and unfortunately, I think he had like 6 fails and like 1 crit, and so then the Dark Troopers turned down that crit and blocked all of it, so he was not able to kill the Dark Troopers. So again, that dice luck coming into play definitely got me through that game. So
I mean, that's to get where you go. I mean, there's always a little bit of luck to sit there and win these. I mean, skill's going to take you a good portion of the way, but you still need to get a little lucky along the way as well.
Yeah.
So then you go into, so at that point in time, you're in the top 6. You've made the top 16 basically of the tournament. You're going in it, and I already knew that you were going to be on stream if you won the game, basically, because basically your brother was going to be doing the round of commentary. So you're coming on stream. How did you feel about that? I mean, that's got to be, being that this was your first Adepticon, you haven't played in any major tournaments.
Yeah.
You got me bullying you into being on stream. So I mean, and your brother judging you the entire way.
Yeah. Well, it was super cool because like, when I first first discovered you guys at Momentous Struggle, I was watching Adepticon on your guys' channel last year, so I was like, whoa, I'm gonna be like that guy that's like playing games on YouTube. So I was pretty excited. And I know that Jake was excited to have on there because he had some insight on like my lists and because he had faced it like a bunch of different ways. I'd tried all of the different combinations with him. So he was joking around with me. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna let people know like what the insight was, and then I was like, okay, well, this is your one opportunity where you get to bash your older brother, and I can't defend myself, so definitely take the opportunity there. But yeah, it was super funny. But I was excited. It was you guys had a really cool setup over there. I got to face my opponent Daniel. He was awesome guy. When we first rolled up to the table, we both were just like, okay, like we're gonna be on the stream table. It's like no little nerve wracking, but then we were both just like, hey, like let's just be super cool about it. Like have fun. Call judges over if we need them. And I think we both kind of took like a collective like deep breath. Like okay, we're just playing like a game. So. It was really fun getting to play him on the stream table.
Were you more nervous playing because like there are maybe tens of people watching at the same time? So
yeah, no, honestly, like once we got to the table, and we like started like setting up, I kind of forgot that I was like on the stream table, like to be completely honest, and so I was just like kind of playing. So like yeah, I mean it's definitely nerve wracking because like if someone's watching your game and you make like a mistake or maybe don't make like the best move that you could have had on your activation, it's like okay, well I don't really want to get called out for that, but at the same time I was just like kind of in the zone and I just wanted to play like my game how I like to play, so I didn't really think about it too much.
that's good. I'm glad to hear that. So how did this game go? I mean, you ended up winning it 2-1, but I mean, how was and this again, like you're finally getting to play some of the other missions. So this one was on shifting. I mean, so
Yeah.
how did this one end up going for you?
Yeah, so I had brought Never Tell. So I didn't win the priority role and I didn't get to choose my mission. But I decided so I saw more Kanan and I'm so comfortable running Moff Gideon and Princess Leia against like these Kanan lists that I wanted to run that again. And then when we flipped the cards, I saw that Daniel was running Ewoks, and so I was like, okay, coordinate fire exposed. This is going to be definitely a tough game to go up against. So I kind of how the game started. I deployed how I normally do, covering like those back points. But my goal for this one is I wanted to try and get my dark troopers on a side left point, and then I wanted to get my primaries up to the middle, just so that way like when struggles flipped or depending on what happens, I can spread out to like different areas, either his back points or side objectives. So he went first, and he I believe he activated with his callus, and then he just got under a point, and we both capped our different areas that we had, and then I believe like my first activation was also callus, so it was kind of like a Spider-Man meme. We're like, hey, like we're both we both activate callus at the same time, so. I saw the opportunity. I was like, okay, rather than move up to like some of these different points, I'm actually just gonna fight over this point that he went up and took. So I moved up and attacked, and I believe like if you watch it on there, that's like where Jake makes one of his comments where he's like, "Oh, Nick with the dice rolls again," because
Right.
I'm pretty sure I had like 3 or 4 crits like on my first roll. And
No, you did. You did.
and, like, yeah, I felt this too in some of our local games. Like it's true, the aura. So yeah, it was definitely like a good role, and so I was able to capture that point. And so it was kind of like some back and forth fighting over the like the middle points. And what was kind of interesting is we had, so from my perspective, the left middle point was on. I'm pretty sure both of us left that point unattended for like a majority of struggle one. Like we just, neither one of us decided to go after it. Which is, yeah, again, it was just like, it was kind of interesting how the game played out that way. There was one moment where I had my rebel commandos backstop against the high ground tower in the doorway on the middle, and I was like, okay, there's no way I'm getting shoved off of there. But Daniel just said, I'm just actually just gonna blow them off the table. So he like moved his like Ewoks or his rebel commandos like up there, and he one shot them like, and then took the point. But I was able to get a really nice Princess Leia trigger where she rolled 5 dice, and I think I had a couple of crits in there, so I was able to shove him off the point, but then move myself up to there to retain the point. So then it became you know, kind of like I hold on to that point, and he doesn't have any other activations in the area. So I was able to take that struggle. And it just came down to a lot of precise movements. And I think one of the things that really kind of hurt him in that game is, if I remember correctly, his order deck, I think it had both of his primaries and his Shatterpoint as his last 3 cards. So he kind of had Princess Leia with the Coordinate Fire Expose stuck like in his back base area.
Yeah.
So that was definitely in my favor because getting some exposed, you know, defensive dice rolls in there could have swung it either way. But that, yeah, just this was the second game where it came up where I had you know, one person on the midline, and then he had one person on the midline and owned the point. But I was able to get Moff Gideon. I think he took a ranged attack and got one shove, so it placed him within range 2 at the bottom elevation. So I was able to use that tie-breaking ability to flip that point in my favor as well. So just using those precise measurements to you know, for tiebreakers, and then Leia shoves really benefited me there.
Yeah, no, I mean it was a great game. I mean, you played well. Yeah, I mean your dice were on fire at the beginning of that game. I remember that distinctly, where it was just like, what is going on? You were like just getting crits like crazy. But that was cool. I mean, so you ended up pulling that one out, and then like, so at this point in time, you're basically in the top 8, and you're going up against Matt Bronson. I mean, the you know, did you know who he was before you started like his 5th Trooper blog and everything like that?
So no, I had no idea who he was until like after we played, and like I heard about it and talked about it. I'm like, oh, I've seen like his articles and like I've seen his YouTube channels. Like he's really good at the game. So
Yeah.
I just had the mindset where I was like, oh, okay, everybody at this point is like really good at the game, so I'm just gonna, you know, give it my best shot on every single thing, or in every single way there. But yeah, I didn't know at the time of the game. And one thing to recap on me and Daniel's game, it came down to the wire, and I think we were the last game to finish in top 16. So basically, as soon as I was done with that game, like I didn't even, you know, I felt like I just had to clean up my stuff and like go to the next game, because like they were like running, you know, they're running on time there. I was like, okay, so I got to immediately go. So yeah, so I was facing Matt, and so I looked at his list, and I saw that he was running Kanan and Han Solo for most of it, but I also saw on the other side Iden and Moff Gideon. So I was like, okay, I've practiced this matchup. I want to be disciplined, and I don't want to risk taking PLC and Moff. I want to bring my full revenge list just in case he decides to surprise me with Aiden. But he ended up taking Kanan and Solo, and I still thought I had a pretty good shot in the mirror match. But that was definitely one of those turn 0 games where I feel like looking back on it now, I probably should have just went with like my Princess Leia and Moff Gideon list, but I still am confident with PLC and Kanan. But yeah, we got to that one. I didn't win priority on that one, so he got to choose the sides. But it didn't really matter too much because the table that we played on, it didn't really have like too much like blocking like in the back. But it was actually pretty funny. So on the first activation, I believe he went up and he got Chopper on one of the side points, and then my first pull was the Rebel Commandos, and I was like, I remember thinking this. I was like, all right, I made it this far. I'm just gonna go for it. So I decided to like run up to the midline and just go after his Rebel Commandos there was only one unit on that, or one character model on his point there. So I was like, I'm just gonna try and one-shot them, see what I can do. And I did. I ended up killing his Rebel Commandos and then moved into his base, and I was like, okay, I have like a 33% chance, like if he doesn't get his Rebel Commandos or his Shatterpoint, then like he might be stuck like in a hard spot with me having units like in his back. Well, he immediately pulls his Rebel Commandos, and so the next activation he one-shot my Commandos off the table and retook that point, and then like I think retook like my middle back point, something like that. And so it was definitely like an uphill battle from there. His list was super cool too. We talked about it after the game, and he said that his version of like Kanan style revenge with Han Solo is actually really good into the mirror match, and I definitely felt that. I definitely agree because Han Solo being able to pin and strain people on that smug scoundrel side, it really came up. It really came up in several different ways. Like I was trying to fight over like one of my back points, and he kept shoving, pinning, and straining Ezra. And so when my defensive expertise dash would go off, I would be pinned, and it's like I couldn't do anything. So yeah, it was a super fun game. He's a really great player. He definitely took Struggle 1 pretty handedly, but like we were talking about earlier, I was like, I'm gonna just start moving on to like the next points. Like I don't see a way to get out of this struggle, so I started moving out. We had a pretty tough battle in Struggle 2. There was one point though where I was able to attack an already wounded unit with Ezra and get 3 down his tree and reposition onto another point and take that. So I was able to sneak in Struggle 2, and when the map flipped, I believe it was the layout that had both of the side points turned on, and then you choose like the other one. Well, he had both of those side points at the struggle flip, and then he chose one of the other ones, and his first activation of Struggle 3 was with his Rebel Commandos, who had 2 injured tokens on them, and he just moved to the back point, and then they went off the table, but then he scored all 4 points, took all 3 of the objectives. So it was definitely an uphill battle from there. Didn't end up taking it, but definitely tried to give him not an easy out to get to the top 4 there.
No, I mean, you had a great run. I mean, it ended up like to lose to him, who ends up he was the runner-up at Worlds. I mean, that was a fantastic. I mean, you had a fantastic run as it was. I mean, especially going from losing your first game and then rolling 5 consecutive wins off after that. It's pretty impressive. pretty impressive. I mean, and then you've finished in like sixth overall for Worlds is like
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, I am super proud of how I played and how far I made it. Every single one of my opponents was extremely good at the game. It was just like really high level play. Everyone was so nice, such an enjoyable person to play against, even in like a setting where it's like really competitive. Everyone wants to do good. Everyone was like super nice and working together on like measurements and that sort of thing. I think that's definitely one thing I took away is it's nice when you're talking out your moves with your opponent to try and get like that additional assistance because you're both playing the game together and you want to make sure nothing goes wrong. So yeah, again, just proud of how I played. The whole event as a whole was super fun. So I would definitely recommend anyone thinking about going, definitely do it. It was super fun. But yeah, I'm pretty excited that I finished in the top 8, especially with my goal being just to make day 2. So
Yeah, I mean, so looking at it, I'm assuming are you definitely going back next year?
Oh, 100%. It was so fun. Now I got the whole layout. I'm like, okay, I'm familiar with Milwaukee now. Know where the good spots are. There's like that 3rd Street Market, which was super fun. Got to meet a bunch of people at all the hangouts. But yeah, no, it was super fun. I'm definitely gonna go back next year. And one of the reasons why I really wanted to go to this one is I missed out on getting to go to LVO, the one that you guys ran. So I was like, I really want to go to one of those big events and see how fun it is. So.
And now you got the bug, and you're just going to keep going back as much as possible. It happens.
Yeah.
So one last question about Adepticon, and then I guess we can close out of here because I've already had you for an hour. What was your highlight of the weekend of the entire time? Like, what was your like the one moment that stuck out for you as like this is what made my weekend?
Well, just first and foremost, just getting to meet like a ton of the people that I've like talked with in like Discords. Just, I guess overall the my highlight was just getting to meet people, have fun. We all got to play a bunch of Shatterpoint, which is like why we were all there. Super fun game. I guess like if I were to pick out one singular highlight, so it's actually a little bit of a funny story. So again, first Adepticon, I didn't really know what to expect. So I signed up for the advanced pass because I thought that like I heard that there were so many people there. I thought there was going to be like lines to get in the building, and maybe the advanced pass would help me out with that. I didn't understand though that it came with like something called like a swag bag. So I got my badge, and then they like redirected me to this like aisle, and they handed me like 5 boxes of stuff and like a big bag. And so I was like, I don't even know how I'm gonna take all of this home. And so I was dropping off this stuff, and I was starting to peek through. The bag to see like what it came with, and I saw this like black and like yellow strip. I was like, hey, that's a Shatterpoint box. And so like as I'm like pulling it out of the bag, I like see like a spindly like robotic arm and leg. I'm like, is that K2? And I pulled it out, and I got the Cassian box in my swag bag. So first of all, I didn't even know that I was gonna get all of this like free stuff that with my pass. But not only that, I got a Cassian box. So like that was awesome. And then the competitive brotherly love. Cassian's like Jake's favorite character, so I got to be like, hey, you like my new Cassian? He was able to find one like the next day or like a couple hours later, but I got to bask in that for a little bit. But it was just it was cool getting that. And then also another cool moment. The last day that I was there, I got one of those. I rented one of those like pop-up lockers on site, which was a lifesaver rather than having to drag all my stuff back and forth from the hotel. But I was about to drop off the lock, and as I was turning around, I bumped into Sarastro from Sarastro's painting, and I was like, hey, like I love your videos. I pretty much learned how to paint from your videos, so that was super cool. I got to talk to him for a couple minutes, so that was a highlight as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's one of the cool things. You get to meet like a lot of the YouTubers that are out there making a lot of the content that you consume and everything like that. So getting to meet all of them, because I ended up getting a chance to meet him as well and got a picture with him and everything like that. He was really cool. I think he was staying at the hotel that we were staying at as well. But yeah, so there's like it's one of the cool things that is like just you get to see a lot of these people, interact with them. And everything along those lines. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of really everything I wanted to cover. So I'll just go ahead and like close out and everything like that. But man, it was a pleasure to have you on. If someone wanted to reach out to you and basically maybe ask about your list or ask some more questions, is there a way for someone to do that?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm in most of the Shatterpoint discords, either under Nesquick or Darth Raider. But yeah, just shoot me a message on Discord. Love talking about the game, hanging out with people. So that's a great way to get in touch with me.
All right, appreciate it, man. Well, to close everything out, I just want to again thanks all of our listeners for tuning in. If you want to support us, definitely can do so either through Patreon or by just like rate reviewing the podcast on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. But other than that, thanks again for listening, and as always, may the force be with you.